In the developing world, the majority of people rely on toilets that are not connected to a sewer line. Sooner or later, these toilets fill. When the toilets are full, the most affordable way to empty them is to hire a manual pit latrine emptier to excavate them. Emptiers endanger themselves by jumping into festering pits of pathogenic waste without protective gear. Emptiers often use their bare hands, and sharp objects such as nails and broken bottles pierce their skin and expose their fresh wounds to infectious human waste. In most cases, the pit latrine waste is dumped into local ditches or streams, which serve as a water source for washing, cooking, and drinking. Haphazard dumping of pit latrine waste exposes households, workers, and communities to hazardous compounds and organisms through direct contact with spilled waste or later contact via ingestion of contaminated water. Our solution to the inhumane work conditions and the haphazard dumping of waste is to connect emptiers to a company that will use their waste as a resource. Rwanda's capital city of Kigali has no sewer system. Roughly 80% of the population lives in unplanned slum settlements and use pit latrines as their primary form of sanitation. Pivot is a waste-to-fuel startup company based in Kigali that converts waste into fuel to sell to industrial clients as a fossil fuel alternative. Sourcing sludge from informal communities will be an important part of meeting Pivot's fuel production requirements. We will facilitate partnerships between Pivot and pit emptiers in Kigali's slums. Connecting these two players will give emptiers access to better tools and safety equipment, prevent waste from being dumped in the environment, and enable human waste to be converted into a valuable resource and clean energy alternative. We will build transfer stations to act as an intermediate dumping point for waste emptied that cannot easily be transported to a location outside the community. Transfer stations will give pit emptiers a safe place to dispose of human waste, and Pivot can collect the waste as raw material for their fuel production. Instead of dumping in ditches or streams, emptiers will be able to bring pit latrine waste to nearby transfer stations. Pivot will equip sanitation workers with personal protective equipment and mechanical tools for emptying the latrines. We will conduct rigorous experiments and develop techniques to control potentially dangerous situations in the workplace and the community. We want to help ensure that human waste is properly contained and carried away from the community where it can be used as raw material for fuel production.
The ID Lab is an interdisciplinary forum or think tank for students and professors at UC Berkeley to collaborate and communicate about water and health and sanitation issues worldwide.
There's an urgency to build toilets in this world. In my 4 years at UC Berkeley and in my research travels, I've seen that a lot of organizations and people have taken up this effort to build toilets. But what we don't think about a lot of times are the people and the task of removing the waste from these toilets.
Collection of human waste from pits and septic tanks is a job undertaken exclusively by marginalized section of the society. The pathogens present in the human waste pose threats to these workers.
Industrial hygiene is about improving lives, improving work conditions, and improving productivity. It's important for us to extend our expertise to ensure the safety of the most vulnerable workers, those who aren't part of a formal system where regulations and exposure limits may protect them. Building transfer stations will connect emptiers to an opportunity that will improve their livelihoods. With uniforms and protective gear and a safe place to dump pit sludge, the community will acknowledge them for the public health heroes they really are.
My research is focused on the social, political, and technological mechanisms that facilitate reuse of human waste in agriculture. Collection of human waste from pits and septic tanks is a job undertaken exclusively by marginalized section of the society. The pathogens present in the human waste pose threats to these workers. Human waste is not waste, but a precious resource. Reclaiming and reusing this resource is possible only with the help of sanitation workers. Hence, it is important for all of us to mitigate the risks these workers are exposed to.
Our partners at Pivot understand that working with emptiers is key to their business success. The more waste they collect, the more fuel they can produce. We're going to do what we can to maximize the effectiveness of this partnership and keep workers safe, communities safe, and businesses happy. We are going to conduct research to provide data on the possible harmful exposures that emptiers experience in the workplace. This will allow us to train and educate workers and community members about risks related to pit latrine emptying practices.
We are connecting the dots between workers' physical safety and environmental health to ensure the protection of entire community.